Hi everyone, it's Cherie from Paper Pieces and Leftovers. Today we are going to put together this piece from Charlie and Jojo, Carving Out Memories from MarjorieAnnDesigns.com. I've changed the browns many times of my cardstock because it's really hard to find them in stock. So let me know which browns you guys use because I don't know what I want to use as my final product. I've used caramel, I've used fawn, I've used twig, I've used latte, I've used taupe, and it seems every time I get comfortable with one, they end up out of stock forever. So here is, I believe this is Jojo. Sorry, puppy wants in. And I'm doing this in real time just because I did detail the face already, so I cut off a lot of time. The background noise you hear is hubby watching TV, or sleeping to the TV, I should say. I've been gone a while. Physically, I've been through heck and back, to say in the least. I got diagnosed with MS. I was in the hospital for quite some time in January. I then had to have an emergency pacemaker swap out August 8th. I was in the hospital though from the 5th to the 8th or the 5th to the 11th. I don't remember. It was a lot of days. I was scared with that one. But they did go ahead and swap out my pacemaker. If you follow me on Facebook, I posted pretty much the updates from there. This color here in the pink is going to be, hold on one second, let me get it out. I don't have them all written down this time. Pink Champagne by Encore. You can go lighter or darker if you'd like, because sometimes I do use the flamingo. It just depends on which one I grab. And remember that when you ink your pieces, it does change the way the color appears. So be mindful. If it's too light to your liking, you can always ink another piece with a darker or lighter shade, and that will change the color of the piece itself. The way it appears, I should say. It doesn't change the color of the paper. That doesn't make much sense now, does it? But I pretty much use the same ink colors around the same cardstock edges. I do use inks. It just depends on what I grab. Oh, I've had a lot of people ask, do I ink or chalk? I use a mixture of Lawn Fawn and Memento inks. So I do recommend you going with something that is going to be fade resistant and a dye ink. The reason you want fade resistant is because over time it will prevent it from fading after putting all that hard work in. I know I've seen a lot of posts where it doesn't look like the person has inked at all, and I'm not sure if they're just not inking just to get the piece done or if they're using inks that fade. All inks do dry lighter, so keep that in mind, and less is more. You can always go back and re-ink your edges, but you can't take away from the ink. So I put the ear pads, well, the ears and then the ear pads down the body and the face. I did the face off camera just because it does take a while for me to do the lashes and the blush on the cheeks and the eyes. These eyes I created in Design Space. I used a teardrop, a literal teardrop, and I just altered it enough until I got it the right shape. And then I went over it with offset, and that's how I got the whiter edges to the eyes, was the offset. And then I just shrunk it down a little bit to even up where it was the same height and width, but just longer at the bottom, more elongated. I know that I see a lot of comments about videos, but videos are time consuming with the editing. I'm not going to edit this one just because I have so many pieces on my desk that I'm trying to get done, and it is sometimes easier just to kind of throw it up without the editing. So I'm trying to cover all my bases, but I lost a paw somewhere, and I already have a bunch cut out. I have a bunch finished and a bunch more to go, and there's the paw. Let's throw that one back in the bucket so I can find it later. And for this green, I have them off to the left of me. I used Chartreuse by Encore. And this orange, which is a little bit lighter than the pumpkin orange, is going to be Tangerine. I don't know, is that by Encore? No, it is not an Encore color. So I'm assuming it is gonna be it is going to be American Crafts, and that's the lighter one. And the darker one is Apricot by, I want to say American Crafts as well. And it's a slight difference. Let me flip them over for you. Not a whole lot, but when you choose the color of inks, it does make it look a lot different. All right, so now here's the trick with these little buggers right here. Glue your seeds on first. And I did it on this first one and the second one, but when I put it together, I noticed that I lost one of the seeds under the hands. I don't know if you can see that. I did an extra seed, but it's buried under the hands. So do this second and middle one for your seeds. And the reason you're gluing these on now is because it is the dickens to try to slide it under once it's glued down. And I'm giving you work smarter, not harder. You can adjust your seeds as far or as close together as you'd like. And I'm gonna tilt them that way. There we go. And what I did first is I glued this piece down. So we're gonna glue that over the top of the pumpkin base. Just like so. I'm gonna flip it over and make sure my edges are flush. And now we're going to glue this part down. Overall, I feel pretty much better now that my new pacemaker's in. At least I know what the tremors are from the MS. I'm not on treatment yet because I don't see him until November now that all the testing and everything is done. I had several spinal taps. Those were horrible. I've seen him several times, but it's the MRI and everything I couldn't get until I got my pacemaker swapped out. And so treatment doesn't start until you have A through Z done, unfortunately. And I got them all done, so now I just follow up in November and we'll talk treatment plans. He did send me home with all the treatment information for my MS, and I got to read through it because there are a lot of choices. You can do pill form, you can do injections at home in the fat, you can do muscle injections or infusions, and so it's just getting what works for me and all the side effects, of course. So prayers that goes easy. I haven't made up my mind yet, but I'll cross that road when I get to it in November. But in the meantime, I'm still going to scrapbook and live my life because you don't get the time lost back over worry. So now that we got this one together, I'm gonna take off the excess glue on the back. And if you're wondering if you caught that and I didn't mention it, I know I didn't. I already glued this together, shucks. So this one is the same color as this, the base, but I didn't like how it looked once I had overlaid it. So I took my ink that I went around the edges with and I used a blending brush and went over my base, which you might have caught a glimpse in the beginning if you rewind the video. And that was just to darken it some instead of waste paper. Like, I don't have paper, but that was just also to cut down more work, and I didn't want to waste so much of a whole sheet of paper. Because if I didn't like how the same color looked, I was gonna do the same thing anyways, so I just went that route. So now what we're going to do is glue the hand on. And we're gonna glue the scoop onto, sorry about that, I don't think he realizes I'm recording because he dozes off. He goes to work at midnight every night and he's tired. I won't fault him for the coughing, I guess. And now we're gonna glue the other hand on. Now I did shrink the seeds. So you're gonna get 7 seeds in the file and they are this size. I did shrink one of them and I just cut out 2 of them. Let me dig them out of my little bucket here. And the reason I shrunk them is for the, that is so annoying. That's my alerts for my phone, which even though my phone's on silent, you know, when like Amazon gets delivered or whatever, it alerts my computer as well because I was watching Amazon Prime while scrapbooking. All right, so I shrunk the seed. I laid it over in Design Space and shrunk it until I liked the size of it. And once I did, I just duplicated it. You can cut out 2 if you'd like. I duplicated it and then cut out several because I'm doing 5 sets of the bears. The reason I shrunk it is because I wanted it more realistic in her little scoop. And the bigger size, it was just my preference. You don't have to do what I do. I'm just telling you what I did. That way, if you want to copy, you at least know what I did. But I just felt that the smaller ones just gave it more of the look that I wanted it to have. And you might say, well, they're big on the bottom, so I want them the same size. That's fine. But mine are small where one covers both of them. So it was just something I did. And there are 7 seeds, so you don't have enough for the spoon anyways if you follow the pattern with 5 on the bottom and 2 inside of the pumpkin. So you're going to have to cut out 2 extras anyways. So why not just resize them? It's more fun when they're small. I didn't detail her nose yet. I have little pieces of glue from my fingers sloughing off onto my piece. That's what I keep brushing off. I can feel it on my fingers. And the seeds just go along the bottom. I just eyeball it. And you can put them in any order. You can put them next to the side or to the sides of the pumpkin if you'd like, or cut out even more than the 7 that come with it. And the one thing I didn't mention is what color did I use for the seed. I want to say it's vanilla, but I'm not sure. It is French vanilla. And that is by Coordinations. I've had it forever. I got more when Joann's closed down. So I added little puffy paint to my bow. I'm not going to attach the bows just in case when I sell them, if they want Charlie instead of Jojo, then the bow, they can attach it. I'm going to send the bow with it. That way they can make up their mind. But that's it. I just have to do his nose. I do use pan pastel for my chalk and white gel pens for the details in the ears, the nose, the eyes, etc. But any questions, let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching. Bye.